Hi everyone, it's Heather and I'm back with a new video. So this week we're going to be talking about Disney's 11th animated full-length feature, which is The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. And this came out in 1949, and it's the last package film slash compilation film. Really glad it's kind of at the end, honestly. I really like the full-length features way better, so I think most people can probably agree with that. I had a thought while watching these kind of movies that, these older movies and stuff, when did movies switch to having end credits instead of just the opening credits? So you see from films in the 40s and 50s that there are credits that play alongside a piece of music, and they don't have any end credits. They're just nowadays it's just the film ends and then the credits start rolling at the end. I don't know when it changed over. I think maybe the 60s or 70s. There's two animations in this film, and the first one is basically The Wind in the Willows, also known as just the Mr. Toad feature, I guess. And it's kind of funny because I don't remember a lot of this film really, but what I do remember is just bits and pieces of it, so I must have watched it at some point, or at least bits of it at some point. The narrator mentions at the beginning there's a whole lot of characters from different fictional books, and they mentioned Robin Hood and King Arthur and Oliver Twist, and it's kind of weird. I wonder if they were hinting at future movies that were going to be coming out, future animations that were going to be coming out. The one character that they had in their lineup was Becky Sharp from Vanity Fair. Is the only one that's not part of a Disney film. And then I'm also noticing in the character design that it seems like maybe future movies were using these as models. The Great Mouse Detective kind of seems like it might have taken them from design. Mole kind of looks like some characters later on. So I wonder if they were just inspired by this movie. So interesting enough. Funny thing about this movie is I didn't recall much of this movie until the part when Mr. Toad pops in, and he pops in and then he starts singing a song, and I pretty much remember this whole scene. Everything from the atmosphere to the backgrounds to the add-ons, everything that's happening, the song. I just thought it was kind of funny. It all came rushing back. So it's possible I saw through different commercials and stuff between film, because I remember on the Disney Channel they used to have different bits and pieces of animation from longer films, and I wonder if that's just where it was at some point. So the logic of this movie is kind of weird and wonky. It doesn't really explain why there's humans but also talking animals at the same time, and sometimes the environment is catered to the humans, sometimes more to the animal size. I've noticed the chairs that they were sitting in were more human size, but then they'll have doors that the humans can't fit in. So it's kind of weird. It doesn't really it kind of seems like it's both, and there's never explanation of why humans and animals can talk with each other. And also some scenes when Toad is escaping prison, there's some dogs that run past him and then they're smaller than him, and I thought that was kind of just funny. It probably was a continuity error, I'm sure, but it was just kind of funny. I think that the biggest difference between this movie compared to the other package films is that when it switches over to the live action scenes, there's kind of a cut in between the different parts of the film, and it does have a lot better of a pace to it. I think that continuity is it's definitely better, this film. There's it ends, there's another film, then we're good. It doesn't go off into this weird part where it doesn't make any sense. They didn't just try doing all these different kinds of things and adding them in. It stays consistent, which I like. It doesn't go out of the way. I think this is actually one of the best package films, honestly. It's the most interesting one to me. So there's just in general, I just think it's the unnecessary and superfluous characters or anything in between the different animations, in Fun and Fancy Free, for example, when they're adding the puppet scene with uncalled for. It doesn't really have anything to do with the movie, and then they kind of just added in because I guess the guy that was narrating it, he was a popular entertainer at the time, so it just seems weird now watching it. The narrator explains it's okay, here's the story from England, and then okay, now here's the story from the US. So the next film is Ichabod Crane, or Sleepy Hollow, or the Headless Horseman. I'm sure, like, you've heard many of those different titles. There's been lots of different iterations of this story over time, from like films to animation to comics, all kinds of different things. In video games, I think they've hinted at him. We're first introduced to Ichabod, and he's basically described as a really weird looking guy, and I have to agree, because his appearance has always been very alarming to me, or jarring. And then we're also introduced to the antagonist, Brom, and it seems like he's kind of the proto version of Gaston, honestly, to me. So I wonder, like, Gaston definitely seems like he was influenced by Brom, I'm sure, a lot. So it's funny how, like, this film kind of seems like down the road Disney had kind of gotten ideas and stuff from it. Out of nowhere, it describes Ichabod as basically a self-described ladies' man, which was confusing to me. He keeps a daily record of the women that he hangs out with, from eating meals and different, like, activities he's doing with them. And I don't know if it's creepy. It seems a little weird. So then Katrina Van Tassel, she enters the film. She's described by the chorus as a coquette, and I actually had to look up that definition because I wasn't entirely sure, but I wanted to make sure. Basically, the definition is a woman who endeavors without sincere affection to gain the attention and admiration of men. Basically, that describes Katrina in a nutshell, because that's what she does in the movie. She plays with Ichabod's and Brom's emotions, and she doesn't seem to care about either of them. And basically just does her own thing. She's like, I'm adorable, I'm cute, look at me. So I'm thinking this might be the only animated Disney movie that's Halloween themed. I think that the scene where there's dancing and the party, everything's really fun. I like it a lot. I like the little short woman that Brom begrudgingly dances with. I think she's adorable. I think it's kind of funny that as soon as Brom started telling the story about the Headless Horseman, Ichabod completely loses his cool and his charm. As soon as, like, Brom tells the story, like, Ichabod's like, never mind, it was just all an act, and none of that's true. The scene where Ichabod's walking through the forest, he's eventually chased by the Headless Horseman. I think it's pretty exciting. And I immediately thought of, Headless Horseman from World of Warcraft and flashbacks of how I can't get that. I can't get the horse. I think it's kind of surprising that Katrina ends up with Brom in the end. Ichabod is presumably dead. We're not sure what happens to him, and we're showing his hat and the pumpkin on the ground, and that's it. Overall, I think that both of these stories are pretty well paced. I think they're both pretty good length. I don't think either of them are too over lengthy. I think that if they were any longer than maybe an hour each, it would be too long for both of them, definitely. Mr. Toad has a couple spots where it drags a little bit, but I thought that the Ichabod story was really well paced. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and some really good songs to go with it, and a lot of fun characters, and an open ending, which kind of leaves it. I thought it was interesting. It leaves you thinking about it, whether what really happened or not, you don't know. It definitely shows that Disney has changed quite a bit throughout the years. So talk about this drawing a little bit. I drew Katrina, even though she's kind of the antagonist, I feel. She's really the only named female character in the film, so I did go with her. Honestly, I think that she may be the definition of the female character, and I chose to draw her in all her coquettish glory. I hope you guys liked this video, and see you all in the next one. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Thank you, as always, to my patrons, Andrew Linjo, Ben Wright Human, Brandon Tinch, Colin Warmbrot, Council of Geeks, Dark Leap Master, Hexapus Inc., Jack Mahantenny, Jesse Girona, Merrick Bennett, Story Comic, and as always, a very special thank you to my $10 patrons, Corbin Koval and Steve Zarzinski.